So you're done with the ITTP, but you're not done with me. I know that was a lot of information to process in all of that content, but of course, you can come back to it whenever you need a refresher. And you will need a refresher, just plan on it. Now, we're going to be able to do some concrete planning now to get your studio up and running. And we're going to plan it directly right into your calendar. So we're going to start by going through the worksheet that is in your download. And I'm going to pull it up on my screen now and just kind of talk through that. The first thing I want you to do, if you haven't already, is to actually set a start date when you're going to start teaching. And put that here because we're going to be working backwards from that date. And then I'm assuming you've probably thought about this somewhat, but what are the time frames on each day of the week that you want to set aside for teaching? And you will use this to communicate to your students, here's what is available, choose from these times. And keep in mind that if you want to do some non-conventional hours, like the most popular hours are after school times into early evening, but you can always tap into the homeschool community or adults that have different work schedules or retired adults that can come earlier in the day or even in the morning. So if that is appealing to you, you might want to include a time frame like that earlier in the day somewhere throughout your week. And then you'll need to plan some introductory sessions. You don't have to do 4, I just put 4 blanks here. And just get some on the books and start getting the word out, trying to fill them up. It's best if you can get several people in one introductory session, but you could do individual ones. It's just that the energy is a lot different and people ask questions that other people might not have thought about. And if there are kids there with their parents, which I recommend the potential students be there, then sometimes they can get excited about maybe being in a class together. So it just seems to be more energetic and more successful if you can do these with groups of people, but it's not required, of course. So set a couple of times. Now, Neil has said in the past that when he was conducting a lot of introductory sessions in the beginning of creating Simply Music, he said he found the best time to be Saturdays at 2 o'clock. So that was a long time ago. That was in a particular part of the United States. So it may or may not hold true for you, but weekends seem to be a good time when people have more availability. I've had a lot of them on Saturdays and Sundays too, Sunday afternoons. There's not as many sporting events and that kind of thing going on, it seems like. But set a couple, at least one, but I would recommend having more than one on your calendar. From there, I just want you to think about, before you do your intro session, before you begin teaching, what are some things that you know right now that you are going to want to review? For example, before you have your first intro session, you might want to schedule some time on your calendar to do a good thorough review of the training materials on introductory sessions. If you have your date up here, let's say you put August 15th is an intro session, then you might want to, it's up to you, might want to do this in more than one session. So you might want to put, okay, on August 13th and August 14th, I'm going to spend some time reviewing this training. Or you might just say the day before the session, or whatever works best for the way you learn and remember things. Also sometime before the first class. So you're going to be looking at this date here. What would be a good time to review the foundation session? And as I presented in an earlier lesson, I gave a suggestion for how you might break down the foundation session into the first several lessons. And so I would recommend reviewing only those sections before the lesson that you're going to present them. Relationship conversation, when would you want to review that? And then, of course, teaching dreams come true. So this is just for you to kind of organize your thoughts, to plan into your calendar how you can feel the most prepared for each of these things coming up. So ideally, you would be able to have some dates in your mind right now, fill out this worksheet, recognizing, of course, that life happens and sometimes you're going to have to change things. That's okay. This is just a starting point to get some things on your calendar so that you can feel most prepared when you hold your first introductory session and when you begin teaching. So now, once you fill this out, then I want you to come back to the next video in this lesson, where we'll head back to the weekly planner that I introduced in the first lesson. So I will see you then.